Council meeting of August 18th. Roll call, please.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Here.
Lorick. Dukniak.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Gale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Everybody, please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Rich, would you start us out?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That moves us right along to the approval of the minutes of July 21st was the last time we were together. If everybody please take a look. And you're satisfied, there's no errors, omissions, or comments, questions needed to be asked, we'll entertain a motion.
Okay, Dukniak moved to approve the minutes of the Common Council meeting on July 21st, 2020.
I'm second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorick.
Aye.
Dukniak.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Abstain.
Item number 4 is a mayoral proclamation. This is very special. This is to our fallen hero, Private First Class Evan Bath. Catherine, if you'd read that into the motion, into the record, please.
Certainly. Mayor proclamation in honor of Private First Class Evan Bath. Whereas Private First Class Evan Bath was a member of the 15th Marine Expeditionary Unit, MEU, 1 Marine Expeditionary Force. Evan was among 8 Marines and 1 U.S. Navy hospital corpsman who lost their lives as a result of an amphibious assault vehicle mishap during a training exercise off the coast of Southern California on July 30th, 2020. Whereas PFC Evan Bath attended Oak Creek High School and graduated from the Connections Academy in June 2019. He was an avid student of history and enjoyed playing and designing strategy games, particularly those related to military science. And whereas PFC Evan Bath has a great sense of humor and a smile that he shared freely. He always had a kind word or a helping hand for people that needed either. He loved God, his country, his family, and his friends. And whereas PFC Evan Bath had a lifelong dream to join the Marine Corps and serve his country, he achieved his dream attending Marine Corps basic training in July 2019 before being assigned to the 15th MEU. And whereas PFC Evan Bath was awarded the National Defense Service Medal and the Global War on Terrorism Service Medal. And whereas PFC Evan Bath was a proud son of the city of Oak Creek, Wisconsin, born on Memorial Day, May 28, 2001. And whereas PFC Evan Bath's commitment to service will forever be remembered. And whereas PFC's Evan Bath's father, Andrew Bath, stated, "A sacrifice like this, for all of us, the greatest reward we can do is just to live." And whereas PFC Evan Bath's mother, Alita Bath, stated, "He's the best son that a mother could have. He was nothing less than a hero." Now therefore be it resolved that I, Daniel J. Bakevich, Mayor of the City of Oak Creek, and the Oak Creek Common Council do hereby recognize and honor PFC Evan Bath for his ultimate sacrifice on July 30th, 2020 in service to our country. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and the city clerk be, and she is hereby directed to transmit a suitable copy thereof to the family of PFC Evan Bath. Introduced and adopted this 18th day of August, 2020.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Anybody from council familiar with Evan? No. Just a little bit. I did reach out to the family of Evan Bath at this difficult time and express the city's condolences, and really had a nice chat with the father at this distraught time. He's very proud of his son. Oak Creek lost one of its very best. I never had a chance to meet Evan, but at 19 years old, he demonstrated unbelievable courage and valor, and he gave his life for what he believed in, and that's really our freedom. And Oak Creek and the entire country owes an undying thanks to Evan for his sacrifice. So suitable copies will go out to the families, and we have been in touch with the family. Services are pending, possibly here in Oak Creek. And again, the city may have a ceremony if the family requests it at a later date somewhere within the city to recognize his service to our country. So, okay, thank you very much for that. Item 5, council proclamation. This is congratulations to Casey Jones for receiving the Eagle Scout Award. Catherine, if you would please read that into the record.
Certainly. Council Proclamation number 2004, congratulations to Casey Hunter Jones for receiving the Eagle Scout Award. Whereas the conferring of an Eagle Scout is one of the highest awards that can be bestowed upon a Boy Scout, and whereas such an award is an earned award and that the recipient must perform and successfully complete and pass the rigid requirements exacted to achieve an Eagle Scout award, and whereas less than 4% of all Scouts actually achieve this goal, and whereas at a court of honor, an Eagle Award will be conferred upon Casey Jones, and whereas his Eagle project, Casey designed, fundraised, and recruited volunteers for the building of 2 outdoor classroom spaces at River Bend Nature Center in Racine. And whereas River Bend's mission is to continue and expand outdoor recreation and environmental education. And whereas by constructing 2 outdoor classroom spaces at the Nature Center, Casey has provided a space for visitors, young and old, to learn and grow in environmental education and outdoor recreation. And whereas Casey coordinated the efforts of 18 volunteers to assist with the construction and installation, putting in a total of over 200 man-hours of work. And whereas the Oak Creek Common Council wishes to recognize this noteworthy achievement of Casey Jones. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and the Common Council of the City of Oak Creek hereby extend their congratulations to Eagle Scout Casey Jones for having an Eagle Scout Award conferred upon him by the Boy Scouts of America. Be it further resolved that this proclamation be spread upon the minutes of this meeting, and the city clerk be, and she is hereby directed to transmit a suitable copy thereof to Casey Jones, dated this 18th day of August, 2020.
Thank you, Catherine.
Welcome.
Is anybody familiar with Casey through high school or anything, band? I did have the pleasure of going out and presenting Casey's proclamation on Sunday. I went down to River Bend and I seen an example of the work he did for that nature preserve. It's a very unique park down in Caledonia there. Casey made some benches that are going to be used for educational purposes for people who attend classes. He's a really unique young man. He was active in robotics, band. He's heading to Madison this fall. Just a bright young man, great family. Scouting, this is a 12-year endeavor he went through to achieve Eagle Scout. This is no easy task. Oak Creek's been blessed with quite a few, and Casey is our latest. So again, we're very proud of what he's done, and we congratulate him, and we look for good things from Casey in the near future. So, motion, please.
Thanks, Mayor. Gail will move to approve Council Proclamation 20-04. Congratulations to Casey Hunter Jones for receiving the Eagle Scout Award.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
And item 6 is our, I believe it's our only public hearing of the night. And it is a consideration to rezone the property at 3280 East Oakwood Road from A1 Limited Agriculture to RS3 Single Family. Catherine, if you would, please, would you read that into the record?
Certainly. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request by Laverne Boers to rezone portions of the property at 3280 East Oakwood Road from A1 Limited Agricultural District to RS3 Single Family Residential. No change to the FW Floodway, FF Flood Fringe, or C1 Shoreland Wetland Conservancy Districts as part of a related certified survey map dividing the property. Applicant is Laverne Boers, property owner. Laverne Boers, property location is 3280 East Oakwood Drive. There follows the legal description. I'm so sorry. Dated notice is July 22nd, 2020.
Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome.
Doug, are you with us, or are you gonna?
I am. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Seymour. I am the Director of Community Development for the City of Oak Creek, and this is a public hearing on a request to rezone portions of the property at 3280 East Oakwood Road from A1 Agricultural to RS3 Single Family Residential. This is related to and dependent upon a proposed revision of the property to create a two-acre parcel around the existing homestead, as well as 2 lot line adjustments adjacent to the property. That CSM will be reviewed by the council as a subsequent agenda item. Just as a note, no new development is included as part of this proposal. On the screen, hopefully, you can see a kind of a location map of the area showing the property in question. Again, no new development is proposed. This does not change the floodway, the flood fringe, or the conservancy. You can kind of see on the additional exhibits the 3 lots that are being Lot 2, which is the homestead, lots 3 and 4, which are just adding additional acreage to adjacent parcels. This was recommended for approval by the Plan Commission at their meeting on July 14th. And I will note that if anyone has any questions or comments, this is a public hearing. And should you have any questions or comments, whether you're in person or attending virtually, please indicate so to the city clerk or to the moderator of the forum. And proceed to give your name, address, and then you can address your questions and or comments to the Common Council. This public hearing is now open.
Thank you, Doug. As Doug said, this will be the first call. Kevin, do we have anybody registered to speak?
Nobody is raising their hand for this item. There's a call-in. If you wish to speak, please press *9 to raise your hand. Caller. All right, the caller disconnected.
Okay, maybe they'll catch us on the second call. This will now be the second call. Anybody wishing to speak, please sign in virtually and use the raise your hand function.
Nobody raised their hands either.
Okay, third and final call. Anybody wishing to speak?
Nobody for that call yet.
Thank you, Kevin. We will now close the public hearing and move on to consideration of that ordinance, item 7. Questions from council? Comments? Mike?
There is the gentleman that wanted to speak, I believe he'll address item number 8 probably. The question here is, there's a drainage easement on that property. Can you bring up that map again? Where is that, where is that drainage easement, Doug?
Well, there's two things with respect to a drainage easement, and you're right, we will discuss that more in depth as part of the CSM. There's an existing easement, which is in the area that I'm referring to with my cursor right now, but there is a proposed drainage easement as part of the CSM that engineering is currently negotiating. Property owner that would align that at the proper location for that. And Mike could probably speak better to that topic than I could.
Doug, you asking for me to weigh in on this?
If Mike, Alderman Tolman, is that a satisfactory resolution to your question there, or would you prefer to wait until we talk about the CSM?
Which would be the route to go? I know Matt Sullivan was in on this conversation, and I believe Melissa is working with him now on some of the language. So should we address it in 7 with the ordinance, or should we just leave it for number 8?
You know, I think either is fine, Alderman Tolman, just because the two items are interrelated. You can't have one without the other. So I'd be more than happy to have Mike speak to that at this point.
Okay.
So if you're looking for engineering's opinion, yes, I've been working with Matt, and Matt's been working directly with that property owner. I haven't had direct contact with the property owner. But yes, this is something that engineering is really insisting we must have in order to be able to maintain the drainage pattern that's out there now, and not to impact the existing homes in that subdivision off of Oak Lane. So the property owner is aware of that. Right now, it's just a matter of some language proposals in the easement agreement itself, and those are in the works. And we think that we will be able to get those resolved, but it's moving slowly at this point.
Was that drainage easement discussed at planning? And I kind of thought this, I thought this was resolved. And I got a call today that it's not resolved. So I guess I'm a little bit confused.
Chris, you want to explain it, or should I go for it, or Greg? Doesn't matter. We did discuss it, and really we took engineering's pathway and line of thinking on it too. we need that easement to maintain that drain if we ever have to get in there. The property owner at the time, it's currently being farmed, and he was worried about being able to cross that if we put a berm in, a ditch, whatever we might do, and there's really no effects to that. But we really need that easement for, for future. If we can't get in there, if it turns into a conservancy, we can never get in there, and it'll ill affect that subdivision there. So it's really of high importance that we get that. Did I sum that up right, Mike? We went off Matt's suggestion there at planning, and we went round and round with it, and they were going to work on the proper language to get there. I was under the understanding when I seen it on the agenda that they must have got there, because we were dealing with Mrs. DeBoer's son-in-law, I believe it was.
Yeah, Dale DeWitt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, we do have Dale DeWitt.
Oh, okay. Let's let Dale speak,
Okay.
or I run at the mouth. Go ahead.
All right, Dale, you should be able to speak now.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yeah, we have no contention about an easement going in. It's the wording and some restrictions on the easement itself that we're working with. We've been working with Matt Sullivan on that since Friday. So far, we still have 2 issues to be discussed. Hopefully we get through them. Our concern is protecting the investment of the farmer. The one issue that we have is the statement that says, if said planted crops prohibit drainage, the grantee, which means the city, shall have the right to remove the crops. And of course, the farmer's got an investment once the crop is in place. He has to pay for seed, has to pay for work in the land, has to pay for fertilizer, herbicide, those types of things. And to come in and remove a good portion of that crop. I mean, that right away, the drainage easement right away is 25 feet in width. So it does run for quite a way. So it would be a good portion of the crop that he could potentially lose if the city decides that the crop is somehow prohibiting drainage. This land's been farmed for hundreds of years, and I have trouble understanding what kind of crop would prohibit the drainage, but perhaps there's something, and perhaps the city has experienced some of that. I don't know. So for the most part, that's the issue we have, is the ability of the city to remove the crop.
Dale, maybe the work could be done in the winter when he's not farming. So again, I think that's to hold it up, because the city is probably not going to grant this unless we get that easement. So I mean, that can always be worked around with crops. It's not to say we're going to do it in the dead of summer and take out a cornfield.
Yeah, well, if it's to remove crops, usually during the dead of winter, there are no crops on the land.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the work could be performed in the winter. So again, the only reason to go in there would be to do a repair that would put this subdivision at risk.
Well, let me.
Am I speaking right on that?
You certainly are, Mayor. Go ahead.
Let me read what the statement says. It says, if said planted crops prohibit drainage, the grantee, the city, shall have the right to remove crops. So in the winter, there probably wouldn't be a crop. There may be if winter wheat is planted, but I haven't seen winter wheat planted on the property, and I doubt if it would be in the future, but there's a chance that it could. So they're actually talking about removing crops, not the remnants of the crop or anything like that. Any work done during
The growing season.
growing season is fine.
I know. And Mike, how wide is the easement?
25 foot wide is the drainage.
25 foot wide, and how many acres is he farming?
27.
27 acres. And we're taking 25 feet.
Yeah, I think the point is it's a drainage easement, and we can't give up the right to get in there to maintain this drainage easement. And it's not to say that the city is going to go in willy-nilly and destroy crops, holding this piece of paper in their hand saying, look, we have the right to do this. I'm thinking this is potentially some kind of an emergency situation where we would have to get in there to clear that to get that water moving, and that's really the intent of it, and it doesn't make any sense to not include that language, because that's what that easement is for.
Well, if I read that sentence again, and again, I hate to beat on this, but I think it's critical, and I think we get this right, because this needs to stand the test of time, not only in the current administration, current owners, but future, because this easement will go on continually until it.
Can I ask a question? Melissa, could you pipe in on this? Is there something we can do to mitigate this with the language? It just seems like that we could get there without holding this thing up.
Sure. Hi, Mr. DeWitt. This is Melissa Carls. I did confer with Matt on this document, and I can indicate to Alderman Toman and the council, I think that we can be able to find some mutually agreeable language. My review of it is certainly coming from a spot of our typical language that we might include in an easement, but I recognize the concern about destroying crops or a portion of crops. That's certainly critical. I think that my understanding, at least from where the language is now in the latest draft as of what I saw today, I would say a couple of things. One of the pieces that I think was at issue is in terms of the maintenance, operation, and repair of this drainage facility and any appurtenances really puts the onus on the city, because we are supposed to be minimizing any impact to the adjacent land uses of the grantor. So that's one piece. The other piece, and I do recognize that certainly the city isn't looking for any reason to come in and do more than what's necessary to address the issue. So there's probably some language that we can come to an understanding here. My read of it is that I recognize that one sentence, Mr. DeWitt, is certainly concerning. That may not be the only phrase, but having said that, I would say that we could probably come up with some language that might make you more comfortable in terms of minimizing the impacts to the crops, but recognizing that the city certainly may have to do certain steps to get in there to take care of the issue. So there could be some damage. I don't think it's going to be, dare I say, speaking out of turn, that it would be at such a grand scale. But I think it's possible to try to meet to get to the language that we need. And I would also submit that this easement is going to need to come back before the council at a successive meeting, if the next meeting. So we do have time to work that out. It will come back before council for approval. It needs to be noted as one of the conditions on the CSM as well. So we'll work to try to get there.
So we can move forward tonight on 7 and 8 and work on the language after?
From my perspective, yes. I mean, certainly Doug or Mike, you can tell me if you have a differing opinion, but I think that this is one not different from many situations where we have a CSM with certain corrections or technical pieces that need to be rectified before recording. This denotion of the drainage easement needs to be included along with the other conditions. So I think we can get there.
Okay, Mr. DeWitt, Alderman Toman again. I've seen a ton of these. I've been here a long time. I've seen a lot of these. The city has always been willing to work with the landowner. I don't think this one's any different. They're willing to work with you. To hold this up tonight does not make a lot of sense to me. And not only that, but the second point would be the odds of the city even having to go in there and do something on this easement are, in my opinion, slim to none. I don't know if Melissa wants to weigh in on that, or Mike, or.
I'd probably defer more to Mike on that.
Yeah, I would say I would agree with the Alderman Toman that these instances should be few and far between. But yet, it's an easement, and we need to preserve that right. Otherwise, what's the point of it, really?
Am I still able to speak, or?
Yes, go ahead, Dale.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, I wasn't sure. I had my hand raised, and I didn't know if I was still or not. Yeah, I think if we continue to work on this, my issue is it took until Friday before I got 5 weeks ago is when we discussed creating this easement. It took until Friday until we got the first draft of this. My concern is that this gets pushed on the side and not get worked on in the next 2 weeks, and we end up same as today, 2 weeks from now. So I would encourage us to focus on this in the next day or two so we can hammer this out and move forward. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but
I can just speak.
Engineering can certainly commit to that, you know, so I think we're close. So let's forge ahead and get this done.
I agree.
okay.
So with that ordinance, do we have to add upon not anything to it, Melissa? No, okay. Ken?
And did it come up, I actually thought this was already MMSD's property, but, so I'm educated that way, but by recording this, is that at all going to impact what MMSD intends, or they just intend to leave it as it is? But this, if this is recorded on this piece of property, does that impact what MMSD intends to do with it in the future?
Mike, you want to answer that, or should I go back on what I thought I heard at planning?
Yeah, I don't know that I've got a definitive answer to that, Mayor. So
Mayor, maybe I can provide some light on that. Although I certainly don't speak for the MMSD or the Conservation Fund or the Green Teams program. Typically, I mean, obviously they were acquiring it to preserve drainage, to preserve the ability to deter flooding. So the terms of that easement, I mean, from the city's perspective, are accomplishing those exact same things. So certainly they may have some thoughts about it, but we're both taking steps to ensure that this property is not developed in such a manner that it has a detrimental effect on the drainage of their surrounding properties or of the watershed. So I believe they should be okay with that.
The MMSD would have to come back and petition to have the easement altered if.
Yeah, if we get it now, we're in good shape for what we ever need, as Mike described. If we don't do it in the future, we'd be at the mercy of MMSD to get in there. That's my understanding of it in a nutshell. So it's in the city's best intention to work it out now.
Mike's good, I'm good, so.
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay, you want?
Okay. Mr. DeWitt, you're good too, correct? You
Yes.
understand we're going to work this out in the next few days. Okay. Just make sure everybody's on the same page. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, Tobin will make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2981, approving a rezone of portions of the property at 3280 East Oakwood Road from A1 Limited Agriculture District to RS3 Single Family Residential. No change to the floodway, flood fringe, or C1 shoreline, wetland conservancy districts as part of a related certified survey map dividing the property.
Gale, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Right.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
And item 8 is a resolution approving a certified survey map for the properties we just spoke of at 3280 and 3360 East Oakwood Road and 3380 East Oak Lane. Doug, would you like to comment?
Not sure what I can add to the discussion that hasn't been discussed previously, but you can see on kind of the exhibit in front of you, the 3 lots which are being, the lot 2 which is being created, and lots 3 and 4 which are being modified to provide acreage to the adjacent parcels. It kind of gives you an indication of the impact of the wetlands and the floodplain on this property. Here is where we get into the details in terms of the easements, the conditions of approval. Certainly, in the Plan Commission's consideration, that their recommendation reflected the fact that all relevant code requirements were to remain in effect, that all floodplain areas shall be included in the CSM, which they are. That a note also be placed on subsequent pages of the CSM, that the public rights-of-way around the cul-de-sacs at the ends of Oak Lane and O'Brien Road be dedicated to the part of the city, which they are. And then talking about the existing 60-foot sanitary and watering easement included in part of the CSM, which it is. And then we talk about that 25-foot drainage easement, which does need to be recorded prior to or concurrent with the recording of this certified survey map. And the 7th is a kind of blanket requirement about technical corrections.
Mike, anything on the lot configuration?
No, other than next week, whenever it schedules, would coincide with everybody. If is Melissa going to set up this meeting, or should it be with engineering, or how should this go?
Oh, we'll let Melissa comment.
We can work with Mr. DeWitt, phone conference, whatever, we'll make it happen, Alderman Toman. So
Okay.
if it's going to be, we'll follow up this week
Okay.
and
good,
just go
thank
from
you.
there. Thanks.
If you need me at that meeting, just give me a call.
Thank you.
Toman will make a motion to adopt resolution number 12176, approving a CSM submitted by Laverne Boers for the properties at 3280 and 3360 East Oakwood Road and 3380 East Oak Lane.
Gale, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
And that brings us to new business. And before we start new business, I'd like to take the liberty to take item 10 in new business and move it to the back of the agenda. It'll probably be a lengthier discussion, and we can move everybody through here rather quickly up to that point. So if there's no objections, I'm going to take my liberty and do that. So we will move on to item 9, which is informational on the COVID-19 update. And with us is Darcy.
Good evening. I'm Darcy Du Bois, Health Officer with the City of Oak Creek. So as of today here in Oak Creek, we've had 641 residents test positive for COVID. We've had 6,043 individuals who have tested negative. We're seeing in the last 2 weeks, we've had 11% of COVID tests have come back positive. If we look at the tests overall back through March, we've had an 8% positivity rate at this point. We've had 18 Oak Creek residents die, and 485 of the residents who tested positive have now been recovered and released from their isolation period. We have started to see a decrease in the number of new positive cases over the past couple of days. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so this is a graph showing the weekly positive tests. If we go back, going back to March when we started, you can see that the last month or so we've had increasingly high numbers of cases, but the past week through the 13th was 60 cases. Only in the past couple of days have been lower numbers. So very promising, hoping that we're seeing a slowdown and this trend will continue. We have also seen just a slight decrease in the total number of people being tested as well. This is a this is a graph showing the total number of weekly tests, positive and negative, done amongst Oak Creek residents. So you can see that the last month, again, we saw very high numbers of people being tested. And the past week was just a little bit lower, but still higher than we had been seeing generally overall. We are seeing across the county, though, that the numbers are going down as well. We know that at least one of the major healthcare systems has pulled back on their testing as they're experiencing a shortage of testing kits. So we are actively working to make sure that testing remains accessible to residents here in Oak Creek. Just a couple more graphs that I wanted to share. So this is an incidence rate of Milwaukee map, of Milwaukee County. So this is showing new positive cases for the week of August 5th through August 11th, which is the most recent map that I've got. The areas that are darker color, orange and red, are showing the highest number of new cases during that period. So you can see that during that week here in Oak Creek, most of the city was experiencing high numbers. These graphs were similar for the past 4 weeks. So Oak Creek has seen consistently high numbers as we saw in that previous graph. My hope is that when we see this graph at the end of this week, that it will start to move down into that yellow, green, blue area. And this graph is showing the burden of COVID-19, which is really just a way of looking at the active recent COVID-19 activity in our community. So we look at the number of new cases over the past 14 days, and then they are calculated as a per 100,000 residents. So we do that so that we are able to compare our data to other municipalities and jurisdictions if we use that same per 100,000. So you can see this goes back through March. For much of the pandemic until early July, we really were in either the moderate or moderately high range. And since early July, we went up pretty high into the high range. We are starting to see this come down. As of today, we were still right around 300, but my hope is that as we will continue to see lower numbers and that our burden or our current COVID activity will continue to decrease as we move through the next couple of weeks. So just a few other updates. We are just over 2 weeks into the governor's mask order. We have been receiving some complaints here at the city from residents regarding businesses, workplaces that are not upholding the order. So we are really working with the sanitarian to follow up on each of those complaints and focusing heavily on education, making sure that they understand the parameters of the order, and really focusing on putting the onus on businesses and workplaces as opposed to individual people around wearing their masks. We do also continue to work with schools, businesses, and workplaces as they are being impacted by COVID. Many still are continuing to see positive cases amongst their workforce or other COVID-related challenges, or just have questions about how they can best respond or protect their workforce. So we are working with them every day. We also continue to work with Leslie on community messaging on social media and the website. And we are still sharing data updates 3 times a week on the website, social media, and our data dashboard. Any questions?
Go ahead, Steve.
Darcy, with regards to the massive jump in the graphs there that go back to the 1st of July, how does the massive jump in those graphs relate to the increase amount of testing that was done? In other words, if testing prior to that was at a steady level and kind of relates to what the graph shows before July, and then all of a sudden, boom, you've got these numerous sites around the area that are testing. I want to keep it simple. If you're going to test more people, you're going to get more negatives, you're going to get more positives. So I just want to know, I guess what I'm trying to say is if the testing sites remain the same from day one all the way till now, and we had that sudden increase, I would be worried. But you see what I'm asking is all of a sudden we have South Shore's testing, Freighter's testing, the National Guard's here, National Guard's there. How do those increases relate to the increased number of testings? I mean, are the dates just about match up?
So the testing availability hasn't changed much since early June. So, once we certainly had some challenges with testing early on through March and April and much of May, but starting in June when the National Guard really started providing testing sites, testing has really been widely accessible. The healthcare partners had been doing much more testing as well. So I don't think that the increased testing is necessarily due to increased accessibility of testing. It's hard to say exactly what it's related to. I think that we saw a lot of social activity around the 4th of July holiday, and a lot of people, when we spoke with them, were reporting, that they were choosing to get tested because they knew that they had been around more people than they had previously, and they just wanted to make sure. You're absolutely right. If we do more testing, we will see more positive and negative cases. But we did see, in addition to more testing, we did see our % of positive tests increase, which indicates that there is a higher incidence of disease in the community. It's not just more tests being done, that there are also more people that were sick during that period.
And I'm not saying that that's the cause and we ought to let down our guard or anything. I just wanted to see if there was a correlation between, and I understand July 4th, there was and I do have a comment, but it isn't for Darcy, so I'll relinquish any questions and I'll come back to what I might want to say.
I'm just going to talk a little bit, if you don't mind, just about, I think you raised a really good point, though. We are concerned about testing accessibility. We want it to remain accessible because we want people to be able to access tests if they feel they've been exposed, if they're experiencing symptoms. We do know that the National Guard won't be available long term. We don't exactly know when they will be scaling back on their services. But like I mentioned earlier, we're also seeing at least one healthcare provider that's felt the need to cut back on testing due to their testing supply. So this, making sure that testing is accessible is something that we work actively on, and that it's really on our radar right now as we move into the next couple of months. Any other questions?
Other questions, Councilman? Greg?
Darcy, Alderman Lorik. I know you touched on the percentage of positives to negative, and I believe you said 11% or 8%?
Over the past 14 days, it's 11%. But if we look at going back through March, it's 8% overall.
Okay. And on I guess a 2-week by 2-week basis, is that being looked at, and is that trending down, or is it currently going up?
Yeah, so we are looking at that closely over those 14-day periods, and we have been seeing a steady increase. We had been lower, closer to, we were in 7% through much of June, and we've seen that move up. Again, my hope is that we're starting to see a slowdown, and we'll see that percent positive go back down, but it is something we're paying close attention to.
And when health professionals are advising, whether businesses, schools, whatever the case may be, on options for opening things up a little bit more, are you looking for a certain goal percentage, or are you just looking more for a trend over a 2-week period with the percentage of positives to negatives?
Yeah, we are looking at both of those things. 5% has been set as a threshold for kind of the ideal 5% or below for a full reopening, whether it's schools or kind of lifting some of the other recommended restrictions. Those recommendations come out of the World Health Organization and Johns Hopkins. But we are also looking at the trend. So certainly we do want to see a downward trend, and if we start to see that, that is promising, even if we're not getting all the way down to 5%.
Okay, thank you.
Questions for Darcy? Darcy, I guess I have a question. Do you break it down is there a particular age group that is showing a higher percentage these days?
Yeah, we continue to see a large number of cases amongst young adults and kind of middle-aged adults. I can actually just pull up our dashboard and share it really quickly here. That has the breakdown of cases. So this is our Oak Creek data dashboard. Over here we have cases by age. So you can see that the 20 to 29 age group is by far the largest number of cases, but also we're seeing a lot between 30 to 39 and 40 to 49. We have also seen an increase in cases amongst people 0 to 9 and 10 to 19 over the last couple of weeks when we saw that big increase in cases. So also something that we are watching closely.
Thank you. Anyone else? Steve? Go ahead, Steve.
Darcy, over the last couple of days, I had an opportunity just to share some thoughts with Alderman Gale and the city administrator, Andrew. And I know earlier in the year, we as a council asked Andrew to not close summer and just to move forward with events and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to go into the details of those conversations, because what I'm going to ask for is that we perhaps as a group get together again and make some comments, decisions as we move into the fall and even the winter season, because I have taken a number of complaints and concerns from citizens about some of the inconsistencies that we have had in keeping our summer open. Some things were done, some things weren't done. And, the perception by some is that we're not doing a great job. And I'm leaving it at that. I'm not saying we are or we are not. I'm just making it, that's just what I was told. So what I would like to ask is we get together somehow, maybe the next council meeting. And we transitioned from keeping the summer open to now working at fall and winter with events that are scheduled and planned because, and going back to what was done during the summer and trying to improve on the fall and the winter. And that's my, I mean, Andrew, welcome to make a few, if you want to, Ken, I know I shared my thoughts with you, and this surprised to you, Darcy, so you don't. So that's all I want to say with regards to COVID and
I guess I would say, we have plans, but they're very fluid and we base them on these numbers very much so. And that's dictated our summers and what's opened and what hasn't. And unfortunately, Oak Creek's taking a turn upward. And that probably prohibited a few things. But again, I'm not the expert. Darcy, any words of wisdom on that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to be part of that conversation. I think, obviously these are difficult decisions, but I'm happy to, continue to share data and talk about public health recommendations and work together on some of those decisions.
Perfect.
That's it. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Darcy. Keep up the good work. And again, to the public, do your part, and we can get them numbers down, and maybe we can get some of summer still in. Weather's been good. So, as I said, item 10 we will save for last. We will move on to item 11, and that is considering an adoption of a 401k retirement plan for the Oak Creek Professional Firefighters Association. Who's got that one? Judy?
Bridget.
Yes, I do.
Michelle? Oh.
Judy's got it.
Oh, Judy, there you go.
Can you
Okay, I
hear
don't
me?
see her. Yeah, I can hear you. I just don't see you.
Oh.
Incognito.
I thought it was,
Oh, there you are, Judy.
Good evening, Mayor, all council members. Before you is a resolution for the adoption of a qualified retirement plan known as a 401A. We were approached by the Professional Police Officers Association that they wanted to make a change regarding their sick leave payout. Currently, they get paid out 50% of their accumulated sick leave up to 720 hours or 360 hours max. And what they decided that they wanted to do was take those dollars and instead of getting paid out in cash as they had been getting paid out, they would like to move the money to a 401A. We were not opposed to that because we save on the FICA taxes. They also save on that, and the money is taxed when they pull it out for federal and state. So what would happen is that instead of them having an optional payout for cash, when they receive a sick leave payout, it would go into the 401A on their behalf. The plan would be administered by Palion. This is a new CPA that we'll be switching to administer this plan for them. Are there any questions?
Questions for Judy regarding the 401k plan? No?
Well, I think, Danny, I think it's important. I believe membership has already voted to
Yes,
agree to this, so.
yes, we did.
They- The association actually supports it outright, so.
Okay. Seeing no further questions, motion, please.
I'll move to approve resolution 12179-081820, adopting a 401A qualified retirement plan for the Oak Creek Professional Police Officers Association in the city of Oak Creek.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Item 12 is consideration of a resolution accepting the 2019 financial and auditors report. So Bridget, I see you're with us.
Yes, good evening. Hi, Mayor, Common Council. Very excited to be here, albeit virtually, to bring to you our 2019 financial. We continue to have a great or a very healthy financial position here in the city of Oak Creek. So I would like to point out to you that at the end of 2019, we were able to add a little over $972,000 to our general fund balance. That is significant as we had some large permit revenue, especially in our first quarter of 2019. And then we had different vacancies and retirements among our staffing throughout the year. So we were able to hold our expenditures rather low as well, which attributed to this significant add to our fund balance. I want to spend just a minute to focus on why we are choosing to add to the fund balance higher than maybe what we have in the past, and bolstering that fund balance because of COVID-19. So we have had some conversations with you. Andrew has spoken with you too about our COVID-19 mitigation plan, and how do we make up for or address the loss of revenue that we are experiencing in 2020. So we wanted to make it very clear in this council report that an option that we have now in bolstering our fund balance is we could choose to utilize this fund balance in calendar year 2020. And by having this laid out as a plan, that would be looked favorably upon by Moody's or any of our bond rating agencies. So we really just wanted to put that in front of you so that you were aware of that. Our fund balance policy, which is GFOA best practices, calls for us to have anywhere between 15 and 25% of our unassigned fund balance at hand. We are at 16%, which is also very good. So sum total, we have a little over $9.4 million for the city general fund balance. As the auditors do every year, they look at our financial operations, and they rate us or issue their comments or opinions on our internal controls and our policies. As is customary in the last, well, really forever, we've gotten the audit note that is very normal for a community of our size, as stated, a material weakness, because we do not actually produce our own financial statements. The auditors do, and they do their complete review of that. So Steve Hankey is here from Baker Tilly. So he is on virtually with us. He provided the report that was in your packet. I will share my screen and let you hear a little bit from Steve.
All right. Thank you, Bridget. Can everybody hear me? Okay, great. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Pleasure to be here this evening. I am pinch hitting. Wendy Younger is the partner involved with the audit, and she was double booked tonight with similar type meetings, so she asked me to step in, and obviously I've been in front of this group in previous years as I've worked on the city's audit. So with that, the objective of our audit was to express our opinion on your financial statements. We have done that. It's a 2-page opinion letter. It's the only 2 pages in that report of over 100 pages. That's ours as your auditors. We've issued in technical terms an unmodified opinion. In layman's terms, it's a clean opinion. It's what you want to hear from us as your auditor. It means all the appropriate disclosures and accounting policies have been followed, and it's a similar opinion that the city has received in past years. For the 2019 audit or financial statements, there were a couple of new Governmental Accounting Standards Board statements, and that dictates the accounting and reporting that you follow. Statements number 84 and number 88 were implemented. That's called out in the auditor's report. Statement 84 dealt with fiduciary activities, basically added 1 new statement in the front schedules of your report, a statement of changes related to your fiduciary activities, which in past years were called agency funds. In the current year now and going forward will be called custodial funds. GASB 88 really related to some additional debt disclosures, of which really had a minimal impact on the city's financial statements. We also issued a separate document kind of in a new format. It's called Reporting and Insights from the 2019 audit. This includes a whole host of information. It's got pictures and all kinds of neat graphics and things. So certainly welcome your feedback on it if you have some comments. But the main things that it covers, it talks a little bit more about the audit process and how we assess risk and some of the things that we looked at. It includes a number of required communications. One, as Bridget previously mentioned, there is a material weakness reported related to financial statement preparation. The standards that we follow require that if we're preparing the financial statements on behalf of the client, a material weakness should be reported. And this is not unusual. A vast majority of the municipalities in the state of Wisconsin have this type of comment. There's 3 or 4 pages of other required communications. I won't go through those. I will summarize them and say that they're customary and usual. The only unique things we've already talked about in this presentation related to the implementation of the new GASB standards. There's several other pieces of information that are included in this report surrounding some comments and recommendations, some informational points related to things that are happening in the industry, new accounting standards, new accounting and reporting standards that are coming down the road, as well as some verbiage related to next year's audit, the 2020 audit. Certainly welcome the council's input or questions if they do have any. With that, we'll roll to the next series of slides, which are just really some snapshots of the general fund activity. Here you can see the general fund balance and the components over the last 5 years. As Bridget mentioned, the fund balance has gone up to $9.4 million. The key thing to focus on is the unassigned, and that really is your flexibility for working capital. And as Bridget alluded to, potentially COVID-19 related matters. The city's policy is to have 15 to 25% available. You're within that range. I believe it's in the 16 to 17% range. And that's a couple percent increase from where you have been or were in the 2018 report. Moving on to the next slide, a summary of the revenue and expense activity for the general fund. Again, you see the $970,000 excess of revenues over expenditures there and the fund balance. The thing I would point out here is that when the budget was adopted, it was anticipated to use about $750,000 of fund balance. And as all the dust settled, so to speak, you've ended up adding $900,000 to the fund balance. So certainly a positive view of the year, and puts you in some ability to have some flexibility dealing with the issues in 2020.
Sorry, Steve, if I could just chime in on that. We had a balanced budget for 2020 and 2019. We had placed some contingency line items as well as a revenue offset. So I just didn't want to make the council panic. We were not planning to use fund balance. We did have strategic contingency line items to hold our expenditure restraint capacity.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Glad to have you clarify my comments. This is just a pie chart kind of dividing up the different sources of revenues. Can move on to the next slide, Bridget. And here's a snapshot of really your 4 major revenue sources in the general fund. And the thing I always come back to looking at the chart on the top of the page is everything's really pretty flat. From year to year, there's not a lot of variation, not a lot of spikes. And to me, that says, the city is operating and managing its activities within a consistent means and consistent from year to year. And, you know, just on the revenue side, you know, you see there's a $1.5 million increase there from 18 to 19. And as Bridget mentioned, you know, there were significant building permits received again in 2019. I think that was kind of a big fluctuation in 2018 as well. So things are booming in Oak Creek, so to speak. And, you know, in 2019, there was a little bit bump in the interest rates. So investment income was up in 2019 compared to the previous couple of years. Clearly that trend will reverse itself in 2020 again, but you know, deal with that going forward in the next year. Going to the next slide, again, is a pie chart related to the expenditures, just kind of breaking apart where the dollars are spent just from a percentage standpoint. And I will say, you know, the city is pretty comparable to other communities of its size. You know, between public safety, public works, and general government, that's where the bulk of the dollars are spent. Moving forward to the next slide. Again, focusing on that chart at the top, pretty much as the revenues were a pretty consistent line across the 5 years, the expenditures kind of follow that same pattern, and that makes sense. You spend what you have available, and you know, from there were positives across most of the expenditure operating units. I think Bridget touched on that in her opening comments. And again, I think positive, leading to healthy fund balance and operations, living within the means and working within the revenues the revenue stream that is provided to the city. And moving to the last slide, this is just a snapshot of your general obligation outstanding debt compared to the borrowing capacity that the city has. The borrowing capacity is $191 million. The actual outstanding debt is just under 98 million, which means you're using just a little over 50% of your capacity, and you know, certainly have flexibility if the city needs to go to the bond market for projects or unforeseen situations. But again, you look at your debt outstanding, that middle, the red line, pretty flat over the last 5 years. Again, I would view as a positive. You've got a lot of infrastructure projects going on in the city over the last number of years, and but yet you've been able to hold the borrowing at a flat level across those years and all those projects. So with that, that's my prepared remarks. Certainly willing to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you. Questions from the council? Steve, Rich? No.
Explained well.
Awesome. You guys knocked it out of the park, I guess.
Good spot to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little easy when you get a positive report like that. It sure is reassuring. So again, it just speaks to the management of the city and the people that are here behind the scenes that help set that budget up. So thank you. Bridget, thank you very much. Appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you. Thank you.
And your
Steve, for
staff.
attending.
I know you didn't do that all by yourself, by the way. And all the department heads that actually made the numbers work. So are we in order for a motion?
I'll move to approve resolution 12184-081820, accepting the 2019 financial statements and auditor's report.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
And item 13 is consideration of a motion to concur with the mayor's appointment of Alexa Alfaro to the Police and Fire Commission for a 5-year term. Questions from the council, comments? Steve?
Mayor, I generally don't have a problem with any of the appointments. I look at these applications and I read them over, and I hope that, you know, they fit. And this is an exception to my feelings that looking at the information that was provided to me, I'm a little bothered by the last question, considering the board that this person's going to be appointed to. I just don't, I don't support this individual for this particular committee.
Understood. Just to let you know, I did confer with city staff and police and fire, and we vetted the candidate, and the candidate panned out pretty well, and we think it's a good fit. So, other questions, comments? Seeing none, motion.
I'll move to concur with the mayor's appointment of Alexa Alfaro, 9175 South Patricia Boulevard, to the Police and Fire Commission for a 5-year term ending April of 2025.
Oracle second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
No?
Kirkowski.
No.
Good. Okay. Community development is next. 14, consideration of approving a certified survey map submitted by Michael Faber, Ryan Business Park, for the properties at 1001, 1199 West Ryan Road and 9540 South 13th.
Thank you, Mayor. This CSM is a redivision of parcel 6 of a previously recorded CSM. And when the financial discussion was talking about the increased revenue last year, this was the reason why. This is Amazon and some of the parcels surrounding the Amazon development. So what this certified survey map does, it creates the public right-of-way for Bartel Court, creates an outlot for stormwater management and as well as sign, also creates a lot for a historical monument and pocket park. So you can see on your screen lot 6, that's what's being redivided. As part of that, the right-of-way for Bartel Court, shown in yellow, is being created, as well as a outlot for the stormwater management and sign, and finally the historical monument and pocket park. With that in mind, the Plan Commission has reviewed this proposed certified survey map, and they have recommended their approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council may have at this point. Thank you.
Questions for Doug or Mr. Faber? Give you guys a minute. On anything, Greg? No? Okay, motion, please.
I will move to approve resolution 12178-081820, approving a certified survey map submitted by Michael Faber, Ryan Business Park LLC, for the properties at 1001 and 1199 West Ryan Road and 9540 South 13th Street.
Guzekowski, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
And item 15 is consideration of a resolution approving consent of release of an easement between Legacy Riverwoods and Brandy Woods Estate at 500 West Riverwood and 8900-20 South Wood Creek Drive.
This is a little bit rare in the sense that we don't obviously do this every day, but back in 1991, there was an agreement between the Brandywood Apartments and the Riverwood Arms Apartments for the shared use of tennis courts on the Brandywood property. And per that agreement, there would need to be consent of the parties when more of the, if those were to be modified. And since that was approved as part of the site plan approval with the City Plan Commission of the City of Oak Creek, it was deemed necessary that both the Plan Commission and Common Council sign off on the release of these easements. The tennis courts themselves were built at a time, and I believe it was prior to the development of the city's neighborhood park just east of there, which does have a tennis court. They have unfortunately come into some disrepair, and both parties, specifically Brandywood, has indicated that it might be better served if those were to be dedicated to parking for their residents. Certainly, the Plan Commission in their review and the staff in their review of that acknowledges that there are those recreational facilities may not be necessary given the presence of the neighborhood park to the east, and recommended approval of the resolution or to the request to release that easement between those two private parties.
Okay, questions for Doug? We went over this at planning, just for the public information, or the apartments information. There is no plans at this time to do any parking. It's really just abolishing the easement. So, okay, motion.
Guzekowski makes a motion that the council adopts resolution 12182-081820, a resolution approving the consent to release of easements between Legacy and Riverwood LLC and Brandywood Estates LLC at 500 West Riverwood Drive and 8900 South 20 South Wood Creek Drive.
Oracle second. Roll call.
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Is that address right? That address seems 8900 South Wood Creek Drive. Should it be only? It says 8920 South Wood Creek Drive.
We will confirm that prior to recording of the resolution.
Thank you.
Application.
Okay. Thank you, Doug. Item 16 is consideration of a resolution approving a stormwater management best practice maintenance agreement with the Oak Creek Hotel Association LLC for their Edvid Hotel development at 9315 South 13th. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So yes, this is the kind of the standard stormwater maintenance agreement that all developments that go through that are required to have their own stormwater management on site. And so this is no different with the hotel. They do need to capture their stormwater, convey it to a stormwater retention pond and release it at the prescribed rate. And the agreement then covers that they will maintain the stormwater facility as necessary. If not, then the city can arrange to have it done and bill them for the cost. So very, very standard on these developments.
Questions for Mike? No?
And just,
Anything, Ken?
Andrew or Mike, is this an indication he intends to move forward?
I think I updated council on that maybe a month or so ago. I think the plan is yes, they are looking to move forward, but not until spring of, not until at least spring of 2021. That's my last correspondence with the developer, looking for a status update.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion?
Guzekowski makes a motion that the Common Council adopts resolution number 12180-01820, a resolution approving a stormwater management practices maintenance agreement with Oak Creek Hotel Associates LLC and their Avid Hotel development located at 9315 South 13th Street.
Oracle second. Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Item 17 is consideration of a motion to award the private property infiltration and inflow reduction unit price contract to Globe Contractors. Mike?
So this is the next step in the PPII, the Private Property Infiltration Inflow project. This is the MMSD initiative to keep clear water, i.e. stormwater, out of the sanitary reserving capacity to convey the sewage as necessary, particularly during heavy rainfall events. So the city has identified the Oakview number 3 subdivision as a good candidate for needing these types of repairs. These are repairs to their sanitary laterals. And earlier this year, there was a project for closed circuit television inspection of the laterals for participating houses. And the houses that are participating are hatched in on the graphic you see on the screen. There's 27 homes. We've actually had one more, so there will be 28 homes that are participating in the program. And so these homes will have their laterals replaced, and the city pays the cost and then gets reimbursed from MMSD, 100% of the costs. So it's a good program. It's supported, really pushed by MMSD, supported by the city. And we advertised for bids. We got 3 bids, and one was significantly less than the others. We are not concerned with that. Neither is the contractor. He's ready to get going. That's Globe Contractors. They were actually within the range of our estimates. The other 2 contractors, we were not sure why, but they were specific bids were a lot higher. And we think maybe they were busy and they thought they would maybe kind of throw a number at it and see if they were by chance the low bidder. So they were not close. Globe Contractors is a reputable contractor. They've done work in the city for really the last couple decades. So they've been around for a while. And so we feel good moving forward with them and recommend that the contract be awarded to them for their bid.
That reduction candidates were selected. Are these all the ones that were selected, or did you have people opt out of this for some reason?
We did, we sent the informational letters and we sent them a waiver saying, hey, sign on yes that you want us to have your lateral inspected, or no if you don't want to participate. We got no's, so we proceeded with the yeses, and then even of those yeses, we did the lateral inspections. And based on what we saw in the videos of those laterals, some were eliminated as your lateral looks good enough to not qualify for this program, and so that's where we arrived at the 28 homes.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mike Alderman Dukniak, 3rd District. During these recent storms, I've had conversations with people both in my district and the district east of us, and also conversations with the water utility, and came to find out that a lot of the flooding on that east end was, and I'm not sure, I understood it correctly, is because in that area, the sump pumps are connected to the sanitary system. So is this project going to eliminate some of that?
Really, all of the, we did not include that. That is kind of a separate inspection. But it was the condition of the laterals, and we as we arrived at this neighborhood, we did rely on the water and sewer utilities. They they take calls from areas that have the flooding when the big rains come. And even observations that, hey, there's a hole in the ditch, which means their lateral, which gets very shallow at that roadside ditch, either has a displaced joint or a significant defect in the lateral. These are older homes. They have clay laterals in many instances. Clay laterals that just, are sieves. They just take all that stormwater, and particularly when these stormwater ditches are running full during the heavy storms, a lot of that is just pouring right into the sanitary sewer. So.
Oh, okay, Mike. So this is a repair to old and damaged laterals and doesn't address sump pump. Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Anything else?
I
Mike?
just had a question on the motion. It just says estimated cost of $132. I don't know if that's accurate or what that implies there. If you read at the end of the.
That's because MMSD picks up the tab. We front the money.
That I don't know where that came from. That is a complete typo. The estimate is the 229, 260,010 So yeah, that's going. And I apologize. That got by me. All right. Yeah, we are looking for the estimated cost of 229, 260, 10 cents. Of course, then that is unit price contract. We've already added one home, so that will go up. And then we pay on exact quantities, measured and documented in the field.
Thank you.
Mike, you had a question?
Yeah, Mike, Alderman Tolman, what's the timeline on this work? What start and finish approximately?
Yeah, so we've already actually met with the contractor. They would like to get going here a week from this coming Monday, so the 31st of August. We're going to send the informational letters out, getting people prepared for that. And they want to knock this out, and so we do expect, by the end of October, that things will be fairly well wrapped up.
Okay, thank you.
Ken?
Mike, can you just shed some light? Are they any work expected in the road bed itself, or is this all on folks' private side?
It will encompass the work from the connection at the sewer main itself, and then basically to the foundation of the home. So up their front yards for the most part. Some of them are going up their driveways, and then with a bend that gets it through the foundation into the home. But yes, we got to get all the way to the main. So we will be into the road pavement in some areas.
And that's
the work does include restoration, so sawing of the pavement, restoring the asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just because this was on our CIP report, we just went over, literally an hour ago. So I'm glad we're waiting on.
Yeah. Right.
Coordinating this better. So cool.
Anything else? Seeing none, motion, please.
I'm going to make a motion to award the private property infiltration and inflow reduction unit price contract to Globe Contractors at an estimated cost of $229,260.10.
Guzekowski, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
And item 18 brings us to our vendor summary report. We actually have two tonight, but item 18 concerns itself with the July 29, 2020 report. So if you'd all take a look and direct your questions to the appropriate department. Any questions on 18? Okay, seeing none, motion.
Gail will move to approve the July 29, 2020 vendor sum report in the total amount of $338,476.81.
Guzekowski, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
And item 19 is the vendor summary report for August 12th, 2020. If everybody please take a look. And again, if you have questions, just put them to the appropriate department. And when everybody's satisfied, we'll entertain a motion unless there's questions.
You'll move to approve the August 12th, 2020 vendor summary report in the total amount of $591,139.21.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Lorik.
Aye.
Dukenyak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
We will now do item 10, which is a discussion on the city reconfiguration proposal options for boards, commissions, and committees. Before we start, we'll just take a moment here. Anybody else?
I'll go.
Brief intermission.
Extra bucks today, Mike?
Is it? To a commercial.
She's going to stay on. That's the only reason.
Bomb away. Bombs away, yeah?
How you doing, Ricky?
Thank you.
Good. Son staying busy?
Pardon?
Son staying busy?
Not so much, a little bit, but here and there.
I know they got a little slow for a bit. Should pick up.
Yeah, it should.
Maybe he'll get on that all timber structure.
I don't know, bolts, he likes working with bolts.
Oh, you're welcome, Steve.
All set. Mayor?
Okay, we will continue on with item 10. And again, just to refresh your memory, it is discussion of the city reconfiguration proposal option for boards, committees, and commissions. Andrew, would you like to lead us off?
Sure. Thanks, Mayor, Common Council. As you just mentioned, we're here to discuss with the council for the first time the potential to reconfigure some boards, committee, and commissions in the city of Oak Creek. I think it's real important to start by discussing the origination of this idea. This item is in our strategic action plan. Our strategic action plan was adopted in June of 2017. And I think words are really important, and it's in the staff report, but just to quote that strategic action plan, under our inspired, aligned, and proactive city leadership critical success factor, we have one goal and two objectives. The goal is to evaluate, right size, and better align the organization with subsequent objectives to enact better alignment between the city and utility, eliminating resource overlap, and another objective to evaluate and revise the city organizational chart structure, including the committee structure. So with that having been a stated priority in our strategic action plan since June of 2017, I hope there's no surprise that the council is discussing this evening by anybody that is in tune with the critical, or excuse me, the strategic direction of the city. Certainly this isn't a shock to the council. So at its core here I want to focus my comments, which I hope to be brief because I want to hear from the council this evening and interested parties, and you guys know brief is relative for me, so I'll be as brief as possible. But in its basic sense, we are looking at the council discussing a proposal to combine, eliminate, and reconfigure some committees, boards, and commissions. Committees, boards, and commissions, at least the discretionary ones, in my view, you have statutory ones that we have to have, and those are generally good, right? Plan Commission, Board of Appeals, et cetera. We have discretionary committees here that are created by this council at their discretion to help govern the city and help with the decision-making of your body. Let's not lose sight of that. This structure is yours and yours alone to decide upon for the community. But to get into the proposal, staff is recommending taking a look at combining personnel and finance committees, currently 2 separate entities. Finance committee has not met for, I don't know if we've met in my tenure here, so going on 4 years at least. And personnel committee is a very active committee. There's a lot of overlap, and just for expediency and efficiency, we are looking at combining that into one committee, the Personnel and Finance Committee. Obviously, a lot of the finances of the city are wrapped in our personnel costs, as is the case in local government worldwide. We're proposing 3 aldermanic reps. Currently, the Personnel Committee has 3 aldermen, and that's it. And then the Finance Committee has 3 aldermen and 2 citizen reps. With the combination of personnel and finance, we are proposing that we have 3 aldermen and maintain the 2 citizen representatives, so we have some citizen reps on that committee. Just as a note of caution, I think that moving forward, the 3 aldermen who are appointed to that committee should comprise the labor bargaining team for our police and fire bargain. We certainly don't need more people around the table for that type of activity. And then there's a number of ex officio members who were asking to carry forward into this new combined model. Under no illusion that that's probably not of most interest in this proposal. I think that's pretty much a slam dunk. I think everybody can see the wisdom in combining an inactive committee with an active committee just for a matter of efficiency. Number 2, creating a new Board of Public Works and Capital Assets. This committee, this council committee would combine the current Water and Sewer Utility Commission, Traffic and Safety Commission, and the CIP Committee. We are projecting or proposing 3 aldermanic representatives and 2 citizen reps. So what is the wisdom in combining all of these committees into one Board of Public Works and Capital Assets? Well, Traffic and Safety and CIP Committee meet rather infrequently. I think last year the Traffic and Safety Committee met something like 4 or 5 times, and probably even less for the CIP Committee. And of course, the Water and Sewer Utility Commission is a very active commission that meets monthly and more as needed. So the common threads between all of that are public works projects, right? If you go to a Traffic and Safety Commission meeting, you're really talking about maybe realigning a crosswalk at an intersection because it's a little dangerous, or we're adding a sign for safety, those types of things. And of course, the CIP committee deals with the road work in the community for the 2-year cycle, any large purchases of assets, trucks, equipment, et cetera. And of course, the Water and Sewer Utility Commission handles the water and sewer utilities of the city. When we lay water and sewer, when we fix water and sewer, those are public works projects, right? So that's kind of the interrelation among those 3 committees. And again, I don't think that's overburdensome when we have 2 of those committees not meeting except for on an as needed basis. As I mentioned, we're looking at providing 3 aldermanic reps and 2 citizen representatives. Again, important to keep some citizen representation on this committee. Council could have a discussion on providing more than 2 citizen representatives. Any personnel matters that were typically handled by the Water and Sewer Utility Commission would flow through the Personnel and Finance Committee if you combine it. as per our new personnel and standard personnel policy manual. Interestingly, the Department of Public Works presently doesn't have a committee of jurisdiction or a home. You typically handle the CIP requests in the CIP committee, and personnel goes through the personnel committee, et cetera. So this change would also provide a committee of jurisdiction for larger public works discussions. Did my timer go off? For larger public works discussions. For instance, we're talking about a potential LED conversion of our streetlights, or renewing garbage and recycling contracts, and certain policy matters that may come along with that, whether we want to do new bins at what cost. That can be a first stop for Ted and his crew, or myself, to hammer some of those things out again, just to improve the efficiency and the decision making among the council. Typically, what I'd like to see moving forward is having duties and authorities spelled out by a resolution or a general ordinance, and not in our charter ordinance. But obviously, we're here tonight because the major change here is to discuss the combining, really the elimination of our longstanding utility commission and moving it into a board of public works. Lastly, probably not going to garner much debate, talk a little bit about Parks and Rec and Forestry, a little bit about community development. By and large, we have to let some things settle on those committees, so they will stay the same at this point. Maybe a small tweak for the Parks and Recreation Commission, pending the outcome of the discussion with the school district on joint recreation. But we're proposing to eliminate the Landscape and Beautification Committee, and maybe even not eliminate it, but combine it with Parks and Rec. So we can have that discussion. I've talked with the mayor, and really we can retool or maybe rehome that Landscape and Beautification Committee, because it's just become a lot of work, and we're kind of wondering if the juice is worth the squeeze on that. So again, under no illusion that the major change structurally to realign these boards, committees, and commissions is with the Water and Sewer Utility Commission. Provided in your packet is a very lengthy analysis. Again, an examination that your council requested in our strategic action plan, and the staff is finally bringing forward for discussion. Before we dive into that, I think it's really important, I know there's some folks listening in at home, really important to pull out what I hope most folks would take away from that memo, and if not that memo, this discussion or my statements right now. First and foremost, I have never heard any bad words among the council, any displeasure, or any sentiment that there is real or perceived mismanagement of our utility department. That's not even a real thing. I'm not suggesting it is. We are not trying to overcome some mismanagement by realigning this committee or this commission into the proposal with the Board of Public Works and Capital Assets. We have an amazing staff throughout the city organization, and that's not, and the utility falls right in line with that. And for those interested utility staff at home, this analysis, this discussion, the pending outcome of that discussion is not about eliminating jobs, substantially changing jobs, messing with compensation or fringe benefits or any of the like. So just to be very clear that that's not what this is about. In a similar vein, the city administrator, in this case myself, but hopefully others as they come and go, will not be expected to provide daily administrative oversight over this utility department. We have a very, very capable general manager, and this is not about another layer of oversight to where this general manager or future general managers will not have the professional latitude to make decisions for the operations of the department or bring policy guidance forward to potentially a new Board of Public Works into the future. That is not what this is about. Just like other departments of this city who are an accredited fire department, a very awesome DPW, and on down the line, this department will continue to function as it has, by and large, with no, general change in the way most of the staff there do business. There are opportunities laid out in the memo for better alignment among the administrative functions. We will get to those discussions sometime down the road or not. However, right now what we're talking about is aligning the policy and management of the utility department more with the common council, right? At that level, not necessarily at the worker level. Those folks work very well with public works and the needs of city hall, et cetera, et cetera. That's not in question. So as we're at that management and policy oversight level, yes, this is a paradigm shift. We've been operating under a strong commission or an independent commission since, for decades now, right? So that's the major change before you. I think that before I turn it over to the council for discussion, I just would like to say that this recommendation is born by the fact that my personal advice to the council, my own proposal here, states that with the utility department, the money that's managed, the projects that are managed, and the impacts to ratepayers / taxpayers in this community could benefit just as well and probably better into the future with more representation of the people elected by the electorate here in the community overseeing that at a management and policy level. Okay? What we'll hear is maybe the independence of the commission has been its strength. It is nonpartisan. I just disagree that those types of decisions should not be at least influenced more by the elected people here in the community. So that's the major philosophical difference that I'm bringing forward to you tonight, right? So the memo goes on. Obviously, the extensive analysis relates to the structures of community, commissions or water and sewer boards, et cetera. There's some comparisons that were drawn. And as you can see, and as I stated earlier, communities create these policy committees or committee boards or commissions as they see fit. There were numerous examples of how communities do it in your packet, right? What I would like to say moving forward is, in addition to, I think, the elected officials having more oversight over the utility management and policy, there are opportunities in the memo, as I put forward earlier, right? This is just my examination over 4 years of being here in accordance with your strategic action plan to bring forward my best recommendation to you on how I could think we can not only provide better alignment among the city council and its utility department, but actually reclaim some alignment that we don't have right now, not just make it better. And in closing, I think that however we decide to move forward, if we were to create a new board of public works and capital assets, I think there is a level of importance that should be placed on some independence, right? I think the council can choose to have, say, this new board of public works handle and handle exclusively, not bring to the full common council certain policy matters, whether that be water and sewer rate establishment or petitioning the PSC for rates, maybe even budgeting, make that the responsibility of this board of public works. But you have more aldermanic representation on that commission or that board, excuse me. So that's why that works for my proposal. It's congruous with my proposal. So, like I said, I really think it's important to have a robust debate on this. So I'm going to shut up now and let the council kind of chew on this. In the end, we're looking for some direction on what you want to see moving forward, given the proposal before you. And in the end, after we hear from you, I think we really need to focus the debate on the merit of, do you think there is wisdom and logic in creation of a Board of Public Works and Capital Assets, or you don't like that idea? Because we're gonna go probably all over the board on this because it's such a bigger change with the Utility Commission. So, you know, I'd like to draw back on the proposal if possible. But of course, this can go where the mayor and council want to take it in the end.
Thank you, Andrew. Before we turn it over to council, I was given a list of 3 people that are currently called in, and we're going to take them. We're going to give them 3 minutes, as this isn't a public hearing. So this is only a discussion. If this does advance and move forward, we would have a public hearing on this. So we're going to allow up to 3 minutes so we can get the discussion going to council. And we'll take them in the order I was given. So Kevin, is Rosemary Annison on?
Yep, Rosemary, you should be able to speak.
Hey, Rosemary, you with us?
She might be having issues. We can.
Okay, we can come back. Next, Gerald Willie.
You should have to hit unmute.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, Jerry. We're giving everybody 3 minutes as this isn't a public hearing, but if it does move forward, then we'd have a full-blown public hearing. So go ahead, Jerry.
I'm Gerald Willie. I'm the Secretary of the Water and Sewer Commission. I've served on the commission for 35 years. First, some old advice. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. The water and sewer utility, first of all, is not a typical department. It's a business created by the council in 1960, modified over the years for a better fit. We make a product, we provide a service for which we are paid. State statutes, the PSC and the DNR regulate the utility. We have roughly $120 million in assets and a budget of about $16 million every year. Our original assets were purchased from the city. We pay taxes to the city on our property and are your biggest taxpayers. Besides the city, the commission is responsible to the ratepayers, who are not always citizens. The utility has been awarded many honors and has been asked to help other utilities improve their processes. We're the best utility in the state and one of the top in the country. Each of our people is licensed and each is an asset. The process used to develop this proposal, I would suggest you have before you, was not well planned and managed. If you want to improve how work is done, then you need to start by talking to the people actually doing the work who know the most about it. The person writing the report knew the least about the utility. No one from the utility was involved in that process, and it shows. There are oversights and inaccuracies in the report. Please see Mike Sullivan's response to the report carefully, which corrects them. There is no way the proposed setup will be adequate to handle or control these organizations. Our meetings are long enough. Talk about adequate representation. It has only 2 citizens replacing them. Are you really looking for work? I thought you guys had enough problems already. You should be getting enough information from the utility. You receive our meeting minutes, our award-winning financial report. You also have Ken on the commission to tell you what's going on and why. If the city administrator needs more info, he only needs to come to our meetings. He's a commission member. You can call Mike or me or anyone else on the commission at any time. Sharing equipment and information is going on all the time at the workers level. We just seldom hear about it. Our workers know each other pretty well. If there were dollars to be saved, they would have been saved already. They're all very concerned. If you do involve the utility in this plan, you will create problems. Some have already been created. We have tried this once before, wound up with a union, which cost us money and a lot of time. The council finally backed off and kept our current plan. Any questions, give Mike or me a call, and thank you. And I didn't
Thank you for,
before I gave it to you.
Oh, thank you for your input, Jerry. Thank you for that information. Next, we have a Miss Michelle Klappa Sullivan. Kevin, if you'd put her on, please.
Michelle, you should just have to unmute yourself.
Yes, I did. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Klappa Sullivan, and I have been a resident of Oak Creek for 22 years. I am speaking obviously about this agenda item, and I'm very troubled and concerned about the apparent deception of this item on the Common Council calendar. If the city leaders are proud of what they're trying to do, why is it hidden under obscure title? Why not name it Eliminate Municipal Ordinance Section 2.67, Dissolution of the Water and Sewer Commission? I would ask you all to read the first paragraph of that section under Section A, Creation. It explains why this charter ordinance was created in the 1960s, to create an independent and nonpartisan water and sewer utility commission. The point of this was to make sure that water discussions and decisions were not political. Safe drinking water should never be a political issue. Water is life-giving, but it can also take it away, as we saw in Wisconsin with the cryptosporidium outbreak in 1992. I'm not sure how many of you were in Oak Creek at the time, but I was not. I got terribly sick, and because I worked and lived in the city of Milwaukee. People died due to the mismanagement of the water treatment systems in the city of Milwaukee. Do you know who didn't die? The people that drank the water in the city of Oak Creek, because of the Oak Creek water treatment plant and the management and leadership of that facility. And who oversaw that utility? It was the commission that oversaw it, that you now want to eliminate. This grand idea that's presented in this agenda item to have a board of public works run the utility, I see a lot of problems with that. You want to operate the utility as a government entity instead of like a business, which is how responsible utilities are run. I'm a civil engineer, and I've worked with municipalities and utilities for over 30 years. And I can tell you that the definition of the word public works is very similar to the word civil engineer, of which I am. And I can legally design buildings, airports, water system, dams, railroads, marine ports, but ethically I can't do any of those things. So now you want to lump decisions about water treatment, conveyance, sanitary sewer conveyance into a group that's making decisions on stop sign placement, speed limits, garbage, snow removal, ditch maintenance, and road reconstruction. Doing so will diminish the ability of the board to have any type of expertise on any one of those subjects. I think that this should have been put into a referendum or to make decisions. Did anybody on the commission or the Common Council ask any of the residents what they think about this idea? And I'd like to address the memo that was attached to this really quickly. It states that there's inconsistencies with the general manager not reporting to him, but the librarian, the police chief, and the fire chief also don't report to him. They report to commissions, and why weren't those changes made at the same time? It seems to be that the memo is really focused on compensation for utility staff, contrary to what the city administrator just said. If that's the case, if the utility is properly funded and well-staffed, why is that a problem? And then lastly, I would just like to say that the administration stated that we need more partisan oversight over the water utility. Well, we saw what happened in Flint, Michigan when there was more oversight over a part of a water utility. And we don't deserve that in Oak Creek, and neither did the citizens of Flint, Michigan. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Michelle, for that input. Appreciate it. Did we get hold of Miss Annison yet?
Rosemary, it looks like you're, yep, there she is.
Hello.
All right, you're on, Rosemary.
I've had a horrible time with Zoom. We've got to have a better system.
We'll work on it. Go ahead, though.
My comment is that the ordinances and the statute law laying before you are for creation of a utility that is separate from the city. This is like an executive form of government, like our post office, and having control over it. It is a separate entity. And at this point, the only authority you have over, the only control is in your appointment of the commissioners. Wisconsin state law is specific in that the power rests in the hands of the commissioners. The commission may come to the council and ask the council to modify the agreement, but the council cannot strong arm the commissioners. You have no right to take them over. This is going to end up in a lawsuit. At least I would hope that the water utility would fight this action. And I think it's frivolous and unnecessary. I don't like it. I don't want it. I want the utility to remain a separate entity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. We will now open it up to council. Questions, comments?
Alderman Dukniak, 3rd District. And I mean, all of us here on council have had conversations in regard to this. I was hoping that Mike Sullivan would have been here this evening somehow. I have questions. Jerry Willie had mentioned about reading the rebuttal to the alignment memo that was sent out by Andrew. And I did read that with great interest, and I have some questions about it. So I guess I just want the opportunity.
Mike is on.
Oh, he is, okay. I didn't realize Mike was on. So if there is, and Mr. Willie had alluded to it as well, problems with the alignment between the utility and the city, what are those problems? What will they be?
What will the new alignment problems be?
Correct. If there is to be this new alignment, Mr. Willie had said there's going to be problems, and I'm asking Mike, does he foresee that there would be problems with the utility because of this new alignment?
Again, nothing's going to change in how they process and make
Right.
water.
And that's my point.
I mean,
so what
we'll
are
let
the
Mike-
problems?
we'll let Mike answer.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think, I think the issue is the commission is solely focused on water and sewer services as opposed to a broader department or public works board that has a number of other issues. We heard about traffic and safety and possibly looking at recycling contracts and things like that. That's a very broad task that they've been asked, as opposed to the commission that's just focused on water and sewer. I think that's really goes to the heart of it.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Okay. Is that it, Rich?
Yes.
Okay. Comments, questions, anybody else?
I'll chime in.
Mike?
Alderman Mike Tolman, 4th District. First of all, Mr. Willie's statement, you started out by saying that there was some type of suggestion that the utility was broke and we should be fixing it. None of us ever suggested that. We know the utility is not broke. We have a lot of respect on this council for the people that run that utility, and it's very successful. There's never been a question about it being broken. So that shouldn't even have been discussed. I don't see the point in it. My take on this is the voters in this city have elected this council and mayor. We are elected officials, and we have oversight over everything else in the city. But when it comes to the utility, that's not there. And I think it's time for a change. Now, as part-time mayor, part-time alderman, we take our cue from department heads for the most part, and our city administrator. When we come to these meetings, we tweak a few things, we review things, but our main decisions pretty much align with the people that we trust to run our departments, including our city administrator. Probably in a 90 percentile range. We seldom change things, but we do have oversight because we have that commitment and we have that ability to make those decisions because people elected us here. So I think the oversight on that would be created over the water utility is a healthy thing. And moving forward in the future, Mike Sullivan runs that utility. We have a lot of respect for him. And I don't think there's going to be a big change here, Mike. There's going to be some tweaking of issues, but you're going to come to this council, present your case, and we're going to look at it, and we're going to be fair. That's my point of view, how this will play out. And in the end, we will be making and helping with some of the final decisions that this water utility are facing moving forward. That's it. That's all I've got.
Great, thanks, Mike. Anyone else? Comments? Oh, Steve.
My two comments are kind of, they're minor, but I'm going to mention them anyways. The first thing was, one, no surprise to anybody here, maybe Greg may have just learned about this the other day. Several years ago, the utility filed a lawsuit or was involved in a lawsuit, and the elected officials, the city itself, seemed to not know anything about it until it came to light one evening, and it was quite the surprise. And it bothered me because you had a separate entity of the city kind of going off on their own, which could have impacted the city in a negative way. Had we just found out about it, okay, by the way, you lost your lawsuit and you got to pay so much, and really, what lawsuit are you talking about? But the other thing is the city administrator mentioned, we, the elected people, are held responsible for the money that is spent by the city through taxes. I mean, we take the hit when folks don't like this, or we take the credit when we do something with stellar. But as a ratepayer, also known as a taxpayer, I don't have a lot of say in how some of that money is spent by the utility. And that bothers me because I don't have any recourse. I can't unelect members of the commission. I can't do anything about it. And whatever they say goes, and that bothers me too. So, and I Jerry Willie had some fantastic points about how well of a water utility we have, and I don't see how any of that's going to change. I mean, I don't think if we make a change here, we're going to start pumping out crappy water, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? Chris?
I think part of this is being misunderstood from just how I'm seeing things. I feel that, from my perspective, we have great water in Oak Creek, and that's because of everything that they do at the water utility treatment plant, and it's supporting assets. But none of that's going to change. We're not asking for any jobs to be changed, nothing. All the jobs are going to be there. The same people are going to be doing the job, so we're still going to have the same great water. It's the complexion of the commission that's changing. That's it.
Thank you, Chris. Greg?
I was just curious on the current makeup of the commission. I know that in the proposal it mentioned 3 aldermanic representatives and 2 residents. What's the current makeup?
The current makeup is, go ahead, Andrew.
The current makeup is 1 aldermanic representative and 4 citizen members at large. And those citizen members are for 5-year terms. And I believe the mayor is also ex officio on that commission.
Okay. And the reason I ask is, for example, health issues. I'm not a health professional, so I tend to lean on Darcy for questions, or the health department to answer questions like that. So with the proposed board makeup, I'd be curious if we can look at possibly expanding the residents on there. And I know it was mentioned elsewhere in the memo, one of the commissions looking at people that have expertise in finance or real estate to sit on those commissions to provide their expertise. The gentleman that spoke sounds like he was on the board for 35 years. Obviously, he has a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. So while I lean towards supporting aligning overlaps of different services, I can see the importance of, I guess, a few more minds going towards something as important as the water in the city. So I can see supporting it. I'm just curious if there should be more resident representation on the commission versus 3 and 2.
Again, that's still to be determined. That's nothing set right there. Last, anything, Ken?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Yeah, I'm trying to, look at this, at least at this stage of our review, as, more of a global perspective on the organization as a whole and our responsibility to the community and our citizens. I appreciate, Andrew, your review, and, it's you're not the first to actually take a hard look at the alignment and the transparency of the organization. So I appreciate you proffering your report, and I believe it strikes at the kind of the balance and the direction of the organization. I think the Common Council, and I think everyone here was here when the strategic action plan was adopted in 2017, that it was clear that we were charging you with things that we're not expert in. You get paid to look at the structure of an organization and fine tune that organization to the best, so it can operate the best in terms of its function for the community and its citizens. So I appreciate your diligence and your effort in providing the report and your recommendation on how to move forward for the community. As Chris and some of the others said, I don't anticipate operationally. I don't anticipate anything different from the water utility itself. I think the accountability side from the elected from the elected folks here is important in the overall picture of management of the city and the tax dollars that are taken in. This is along the lines of Catherine was part of this process where you and we examined the alignment of the clerk and treasurer functions in the city. They had long functioned as elected officials. They had taken on enormous responsibilities that weren't necessarily codified in state statute, but we realized that they probably, with a lot of discussion and a lot of formulation, that they best fit as appointed officials now, given what the community needs, the size and the financial commitments of the city. So I think this is a very similar process that we are undertaking here, that globally looking at what makes the most sense for the management and the oversight of the utility and how it best integrates with the rest of the employees and the rest of the functionality on behalf of our citizens. And I think this is definitely a structure that makes the most sense in terms of a board of a majority board of elected officials with citizen reps that can add a lot of value. I think it's important and would be useful in this structure. And I look forward to discussing that as we move forward.
Thank you, Ken. I'll just kind of wrap it up. Again, we did task this through the strategic plan. This has been a long-term goal to get better alignment. And whether those things ever come to fruition, whether it's payroll or whatever it might be, it's for the betterment of the citizens and the ratepayers. That's what it boils down to. If we can do it better, we'll look at it. This is not a reflection, as Andrew said, on the management, on anybody that works down there. I always go out of my way to try to praise and push Oak Creek employees, because that is the backbone of what's being done. What they do will not change, and who's sitting in those commissioner seats, plain and simple. As Mike said, we rely on the management. When they ask me what makes Oak Creek successful, it's always the management and the people. So nothing's going to change in that capacity. I think when change is brought up, there's always a lot of fear with it. Oh, things are going to change. My world's falling down. It's really not the case. The world is forever changing. You're not using the same technology we were using in 1970. We've all evolved and changed, and we've adapted. And we'll adapt with this, and again, I think we will be better aligned. But I think day to day, nobody's going to see a difference. But it makes no sense to have two personnel manuals, one that basically came out of the city and was adapted. Now, if there's special things, we get it. We deal with special groups. The water department isn't any different than dealing with the fire department or police. They're still a department of the city, but they still operate pretty much independently. They do have their different things. Fire needs something different than police, and water needs something else, and so on and so forth. That can all be worked out. The minutia of the plan, we can get into that a little bit later. The biggest thing is the alignment. Is it what's best for the city in the future? We've all determined that the overlap can be more efficient. And again, as things get tighter, that's needed. It was brought up like finance hasn't met in 4 years. Pretty amazing. I was on finance, and we had some, Ken was on it. We had some stellar citizens on it that helped realign that with our former city manager. They put new procedures in place that hadn't been in place between the treasurer's department and the city, because we're a little bit different how taxes are all done. And everything got really put in place over about a 3-year period. We went end to end on the procedures and everything. We haven't met. We just had our audit report. Our audit report really has us on course. I mean, it was a stellar report. Our finances is wound out. When that first happened, people were freaked out in the building. Oh, change is happening. It's a great example of it. Again, the heavy lifting ain't being done by finance, and we can combine it with personnel, because we took the first steps to align it properly in the first place. And I think that's the best example in the city of it. And again, in the end, we look at where we're at, and we were never bad financially. I don't want to make it sound like we got pulled out of the debt. But for what we've accomplished in that time since we established that is quite amazing. And financially, what this city's accomplished and what we've done is, if you talk to financial people, they're very impressed with the management of the city. So again, it's all small steps. You probably won't even notice change in the end, but it is a discussion for Andrew to continue to move forward. We're not taking a straw poll. We're not doing any of that, but he has his directions to continue on that discussion way to, again, realign these boards and commissions, and that includes water utility.
Mayor, if I may, and I have a
go ahead.
question of the council. And first, let me begin by saying, I think each and every one of us in the room today are very proud of the utility, of its reputation in the water community. It's unparalleled. I mean, we're proud to have such an incredible resource. This change, as you've mentioned, Mayor, Chris has as well, is not going to affect or cause significant operational change, but it could produce some results that are better for our city, better for our community. So what I'm asking the council, I'd like to meet with Mike, to discuss. Again, I had the question, what are the perceived problems that he sees with this alignment? Are there none? I mean, I don't see any, but I'm a novice. I have no expertise in the water business. So being and successfully running that utility, I want to know from him what his concerns are. And I think with his information, we're better able. I think most of us have an idea of how we're going to move on this, but that doesn't mean that, we can't use information that he provides to possibly make that alignment go a little more smoothly or better. I don't think information is a bad thing. So again, I sure would like to meet with Mike, separate from a council meeting, if it's just an informal meeting to discuss. As I said, I wish.
I'd say give him a call, Rich.
Okay.
I'm sure he'd be glad to discuss it, without a doubt, and clear that up. Your misunderstanding
yeah.
of.
Just Rich, I'm not sure who one of our colleagues brought it up, but in terms of expertise, maybe Mike, you raised this issue that even here, we rely on these folks.
Oh, right. Yeah. Can I have? Yeah. There's
water utility board. It's
right.
I'm a finance guy. There's accountants. There's engineers. You are looking at management. Mike. He's proffering what his opinion, what the directive should be, and so these roles are kind of vetting roles. They're not necessarily. You're not looking for expertise. You don't have to have a MMSD people on the water utility, on the public works. It's just so that whole thought process is just, It doesn't have to be a board of experts. It's,
And keep in mind, diversity is a good thing. Diverse backgrounds, we all have diverse backgrounds. Think about it. If we all think the same, you know, a lot of us are not needed then. So we do need that difference of opinion. You know, if we all had the same thought process, again, we wouldn't be needed. So just don't panic. It's going to be fine. We are going to get input. The former city administrator, this went through a few years back, 2015 maybe, question was raised and it failed here. I actually was a no vote on that. And I was a no vote because it wasn't transparent to me what was going on. When this was brought up through the strategic action plan, I said I'd be willing to go down a path if it was in conjunction with the department manager and everything was going down the pathway. That's the path we proceeded on. There's been communication back and forth. Now, we haven't involved the entire council or the entire commission because you know what it is when you get 12 people in a room. You know, we have to whittle it down to and boil it down to what it's going to kind of look like before we start really gathering that nitty-gritty input. So, and that's Andrew's task, and he's done a good job with it. Again, he's taken it very seriously. He's taken a long-range look at it. And that's what we're trying to do. We're setting this up for future councils. We all won't be here forever. So with that, Andrew, any closing? Anything for closing?
No, I appreciate you bringing that up, that last point, Dan, because, you know, I obviously studied what happened before in 2015 when this discussion was brought up. And, you know, one thing, as I shared with Mike Sullivan, our general manager, I would love to have a robust debate on the merits of what is forthcoming after this examination. But I will assure you, we won't be talking about how bad the process was to get here. Everything I've shared with the council, I've shared with Mike. I know this is, you know, more earth-shattering for some than others. I know there's still some perspective that the water department, the utility department was strong because of its commission structure. And we had, you know, I've only met a few of them, but we've probably had very dedicated representatives on that commission. But I really think it comes down to the ilk of the staff and the management of the utility, just like any organization, for the most part. So I think it just gets down to a philosophical difference of, you know, the proposal lends to policy oversight being at least more shifted and aligned towards the elected governing body here versus a you know, more or less a majority a citizen commission. That's where we're at. It's nothing personal. There's no other designs other than giving the council an examination to follow through on the strategic action plan. Again, there are a lot of ideas, probably a lot of problem statements just from my perspective in that long memo. Those can be refuted. Those can have a different perspective. I'm sure Mike Sullivan has a different perspective on a lot of those, and he offered some of those comments. That's okay. We will work through those. What I don't want anybody to think coming away from this outcome tonight and future actions of the council is that everything's going to change all at one time, that it's not going to be a deliberate process. We've talked a little bit, I've talked with Kevin, our IT manager. There's probably an opportunity to bring, you know, one IT framework into the city that can serve the utility as it does the city. Well, we'll talk about that in singularity and say, well, how about this proposal? Does it make sense for the city? Not whether does it make sense for the department, for the department, or whether it just makes sense for the city, but doesn't make sense for the city as a whole. Taking into consideration the uniqueness of the utility department. And again, what I've want to also have folks walk away with, I believe that we are going to bring forward certain ideas of authority that you would vest in perhaps this Board of Public Works, that authority stops there. We are not thinking of bringing everything to council that otherwise would have went to the commission. We are going to give that group a lot of vested authority in certain matters, including policy matters. But in this philosophical position of this proposal, that can be a thing. We can do that because there's at least elected representation, more elected representation, perhaps a majority, perhaps not. That's up for the council to discuss too. But that representation is there. So I guess I'll close with that.
Okay. All right, we'll close on it. Oh, Greg? Go
I
ahead.
just have one more quick question.
Yes.
Sorry. We focused a lot on the water utility, and right now Public Works doesn't have a committee of jurisdiction. This would change that. And I know that it looks like there would be non-voting representation with the utility general managers. Would they bring in somebody from Public Works? And what was, I guess, Public Works thought on this proposal as well?
Put Ted on the spot. He hung around all night.
Yeah,
if you don't mind, he's kind of on the spot right now.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen all the particulars on this, and I imagine that there's a lot of things that need to be hammered out as far as all the details on how the committee works and functions. But to be honest, when Andrew told me about that, it came as no big surprise. When I worked for the city of Waukegan, we had a Public Works Commission that encompassed engineering, public works, and the water utility. So, you know, like they said before, I mean, I look at it as one of the things where I feel it would benefit is during some of the projects, they wouldn't be, you know, public works projects or water utility projects. They would be City of Oak Creek infrastructure projects, and they would be looked at by a committee that would be representing everyone that had an interest in the success of the project. So again, it was no big surprise to me, and I have worked with a committee like this in the past.
Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot, but thank you for that.
No.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Ted.
Appreciate you staying as long as you did. Is that it? I think we're done with the discussion. So Andrew, you kind of got your direction. But before we adjourn, this is Bridget's last official Common Council meeting with us. So everybody's aware Bridget will be moving on. She got a really great opportunity. Actually, she earned that opportunity. There's no such thing as luck. When you work as hard as a woman like her, good things happen to you, and that opportunity came. Bridget, I just want to say, when you got here, you know, you were very talented, but to watch you grow over the number of years and the things that went on, very impressive and well-deserved. I mean, their gain, our loss. Sorry to see you go, but for your career and your family, congratulations. For myself, you've just done a great job, and you've really helped us. It showed in the reports. So I'll turn it over to the council, and then we'll let Andrew have the final word on it. Mike, anything?
Yeah, Bridget, sorry to see you go. You are a definite superstar in the city. The person you replaced was very talented. You came in and
yeah, who was that guy? I can't even remember him anymore.
She knows. Yeah, you came in and you had to learn a few things. You caught on right away, and I think you've equaled his performance and surpassed it. And I think that was evidenced by your recent promotion. You know, our city administrator had a lot of confidence in you, and he wanted you to be his assistant. And I think that says it all right there. Good luck, and God bless, and good health.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. And Michael, that was very kind and good words for Bridget. So you've done an unbelievable job. We appreciate everything you've done to the city, and the city's a better place for your efforts. So good luck, as Mike said, and have at it. We'll have you back on the weekends.
Bridget, Alderman Dukniak here. It certainly was a pleasure working with you. I appreciated your patience with me, you know, being the newbie, one of the newbies on the Common Council, and really not understanding a lot about the intricacies of city government. And you certainly were patient in all of our committee meetings. I greatly appreciated that about you. Best of luck. You certainly will be sorely missed. So again, take care and best of luck. Thank you, Bridget.
Steve? Bridget, good luck to you out there. And like I said the other day, I still haven't found that slip that said you could leave. So, so when somebody from DPW tack welds your office door shut with you in it, just means you can't go. But good luck to you out there, and we're gonna miss that smiling face.
Brad?
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, let me finish, Alderman.
Sorry, I forgot to the right.
Hey, Bridget, I'll just echo everything that everybody else kind of said. You definitely will be missed. Congratulations. Good luck in the future. And make sure you stay in touch on Facebook or whatever social media you're on.
Will do. Thank you.
Chris?
Bridget, we'll see you at Mass. The weekend.
We got to get back in person.
Andrew?
So I think you came in 2013, correct?
Correct.
Wow.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you look at the curve of this city since 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, when Bridget came on, I don't think that, I know the council appreciates this, but I don't think people on the outside can possibly understand how fast-paced this work is. And when you're able to keep up like Bridget did, along with all of our staff, but Bridget especially with the workload, just the loyalty and dedication. We gave her a lot of management responsibility for a reason, to try to see her get somewhere else someday. I didn't think it was going to be, I didn't think it was going to be so soon, and that's why I've questioned her loyalty as of late. But it just really speaks to her character, her work ethic, and she'll be missed greatly.
Thank you.
No, Bridget, you really did do great things. Like I said, you're right. People on the outside don't realize, and the complications of the finances. We're not talking about balancing some checkbook here. I mean, this is heavy duty stuff you're working on. And again, not only that, you influenced, the people you worked with, you helped mentor, and you had really good people. And again, it's a great compliment to the city. We hate to see our people get picked off, but it's probably the best compliment a city can have when they recognize your staff so much that they're willing to steal them from you. I shouldn't say steal.
That's what happened.
But,
that's what happened.
Again, we're envious, but at the same time, I'm really happy for you because your hard work's really paid off, and that's what it's all really about, is moving people forward. So congratulations.
Thank you. It's really been an honor. I mean, the last how many years have been a blur, literally a blur. But I have enjoyed just about every minute of it. There are a couple of times we questioned, probably during AMP, where I wasn't sure how much I enjoyed that, but I grew and learned through that process. And, it has been a great time working with you as, mayor and council. It's great to work with. Working with Andrew has been great, and my time with Jerry Peterson as well. So thank you. I'm still remaining a resident, so I will be around, be in touch, and we'll continue working on the budget behind the scenes. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Again, if you ever got and get in touch with me, front desk, they'll screen it, and that's the whole deal. Just kidding. You can call anytime. Okay, with that, I think we're ready for adjournment.
Kowski, make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, second.
Roll call.
Alderman Dukniak.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Lorick.
Aye.
All right, good night, everybody. Thank you.
This weekend, Mayor?